Are you listening? Damn.
Hey guys, I'm Courtney,
And I'm Josh.
and welcome to the Infinite Balance Podcast.
We'll navigate parenting, relationships, health, fitness, and so much more.
So grab a drink, pull up a chair, and let's hang out.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show.
Welcome.
So today we decided to deter from our original course of action, or the episode that we were going to do, and we decided to kind of cater it around what we see happening a lot with a lot of people right now.
And ourselves.
Yeah, and that's anxiety. With everything going on right now, with just getting over the virus and then the election and then, things being still back and forth about school and different things going on with kids. And, you hear about COVID cases and stuff and like that popping up here and there. I think it'd be a pretty important topic to touch on right now.
So we really wanted to talk about this, like all the reasons Josh just said, but I also feel like it's something that is very prominent in our lives, and sometimes not talked about. And so today, like Josh said, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about our experiences with it, what we're dealing with right now, what we're feeling right now, and how it affects both of us differently, and just kind of go with the flow with it and see where this conversation takes us. And I think that's the beauty of what we're doing, is we can do that.
And it's fun. It's fun doing this. I like it.
I like going with the flow sometimes.
And we got a new sound set up, so we're both excited to try it out.
New mics. Let us know how we sound, if you notice a difference or not. And you can, at the end of the show, check the show notes and it was where to let us know. But definitely let us know if you hear a difference.
Yes.
Okay, back to it. So one of the reasons I think this kind of came up is it's been very prominent for me. And just yesterday, we were able to have a conversation because I kind of was finally able to admit that that's kind of what's going on. For a couple of weeks, I've been feeling very off. I think it was the beginning of October. Philip fell down the stairs. He's fine. And just since then, I haven't really been able to kind of pick myself out of this roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term, because that just makes me think of Ron Burgundy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I didn't realize who you were talking about at first, and I was like, oh, Anchorman. Yeah.
And, I said it to Josh yesterday. There are days where I'm able to flip the script and push through and I'm fine. And then there are others where the smallest thing just throws me into a tailspin and I cannot come out of it. And it just, trying to be okay without acknowledging that I'm not.
Yeah.
And so that was a big step for me. And I think that's a big step for anybody, is to be able to actually say to other people, hey, I need help right now. Because it's definitely something I think I knew. But again, with anxiety, you have a hard, sometimes even just admitting it is the hard part.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm doing. I am not afraid to be open with you guys that I'm getting help. I decided yesterday I needed help. And by today, I had an appointment for help.
Yep. And originally when I started my adventure in integrated nutrition, I thought it would be kind of a ridiculous notion for somebody who's supposed to be training in health and nutrition and stuff like that to be able to be getting help themselves. And sometimes it literally just comes down to, you can help the rest of the world, but sometimes you just don't see it for yourself, or sometimes it's not working for you and you just need another set of ears that has nothing to do with the situation. And that's a lot of what me and Courtney try to bring to the table with our businesses. She's more Beachbody oriented, but in my business specifically, it's more related to talking and figuring things out in a holistic way. Not just, why are you craving? Why can't you stop eating food? Why are you never hungry, or whatever? It's about dissecting these things. And that's kind of what we're trained in. But that doesn't mean that we can just look inside of ourselves and automatically fix the problem. I don't actually know any professional. Even doctors go to doctors.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and I mean, I'm not trained in the way that Josh is, but I do feel like, and we've talked about this before, that I kind of do the same thing with Josh, just on a different level, because I'm not trained in it. So with my clients, I do the same thing. If they're like, listen, I'm really struggling with this, we try to dissect the problem. But there's an account on Instagram that I follow that it's this mom, and she just every day, she has the nicest handwriting. Every day she posts 1, 2, 3, however many come to her mind that day, these pictures of just a little scrap piece of paper with something on it. And today I reposted it. It stuck out to me. She put, you do not have to be completely healed to help someone else heal. We are all works in progress. People are inspired by the truth of your process, not your perfection. And I felt like that went hand in hand with what Josh was just saying, that, you know, you don't have to be perfect to help people. It's okay to need help yourself while still helping people.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're all here for. And I know I've talked about it before. My Enneagram type is the 2. That's the helper. So sometimes for me, helping other people, that's what helps me feel better, because that's what my goal is I want to help people. But I've struggled with anxiety since I was in 7th grade, I think is when we saw it surface. You know, it was a year almost exactly to the date from 9/11. I'm from New York on Long Island, and luckily nobody I know was hurt in 9/11, but I still, at a young age, watched it all unfold. And so I was very fortunate that my parents we were able to identify it when it happened, that it was, okay, this is anxiety. And you
guys were close. Like where we are in Long Island right now, we live less than a full hour from the city, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and right now I work 10 miles from the city, but I think without traffic for us to get into the city, it takes about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So we were really close to it. And it changed even just school for us. I mean, the schools were all shut down. It was a lot. And so I got the help right away. You know, we identified it early, and I'm very fortunate that I had this phenomenal doctor who he was able to give me the tools at a young age to be able to kind of, for lack of a better term, control my anxiety. And that was something I said to Josh, that just right now, this point in my life, I'm having trouble controlling it. I'm having trouble talking myself down from it. But that's the way I am able to handle anxiety. I mean, Josh, when he has anxiety, he can handle it differently than I do, and our anxieties definitely don't look the same.
Yeah. And to just add on to what you were saying, I think it's also important to realize, because in my head, the first time that I heard, the doctor gave you the tools to help with your own anxiety and stuff like that, I was originally kept harping on the idea of well, how about using those tools? How about using those tools? And the thing is, it was so long ago that sometimes you forget. Sometimes you don't remember every exact thing that they were talking about. And sometimes your tools just need to be dusted off and, refreshed. Everybody learns and grows, and the same things don't always work all the time, And, to some out there, they some people I know would be like, if your husband's a health coach and he's into all these integrative things and, he can talk to other people, how come he's not helping you? And it's really a situation where sometimes, and this is where my job comes in handy, sometimes it's just about, even if you know what it is, sometimes it's just about talking to somebody that's completely away from your life. Somebody's that's disconnected, that you meet, and it's, they're a professional, you can open up to them, and it's a different thing rather than relying on people who know you so well or whatever, and sometimes that's really important help to get. It's
that third party aspect of someone who is honestly there to listen to you and give advice that maybe your family gives you, but it's coming from someone else that literally has no connection to your life other than you sitting there talking to them about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just what you need. And for me, I'm just at that point where, I mean, I think I even said it to Josh. I said it to you, what the things I know I'm struggling with right now are. So I'm able to identify them right now as far as I know. There might be more stuff that once I start digging, but I'm able to identify it. I just am struggling to fix them and to help them improve. And so going to someone and being like, listen, XYZ, I know so far this is what it is, they'll be able to kind of help walk me through that so that I can get back to how I was feeling a month ago.
Yeah.
You know, and that's sometimes all it takes.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. And, you know, everybody is affected by anxiety in different ways. You know, as Courtney just said, I have anxieties in completely different ways. I grew up with ADHD, ADD, and OCD, and that brings its whole other world of things to, you know, like you can have anxiety, but on top of that, now you also have racing thoughts, and now you also have obsessive thoughts in excess of the average person. So, you know, things that work for me used to be kind of like the extreme things. I'd let things build up, and then, you know, I'd go into mosh pits when I was in a concert, you know, not to be violent, not to be anything like that, but that was just such a powerful relief for me. Mm-hmm. Such extreme movements and energy and power and the music and everything. It was just a great release for me. You know, and then there's the other release that people use, which would be substances, you know, drinking, smoking, things like that, which is highly not recommended for this purpose. But, you know, everybody gets affected differently.
Yeah. And everyone handles their response differently.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, I would like to say that now, for the most part, I'm pretty anxiety free. It still hits me, you know.
Well, you're human.
Yeah, and I mean, we've had a lot of trouble this year with like things backing up because of COVID, with bills and such like that. And then, you know, I get to this point where I'm just like, but am I dead? Am I going to die? Like, it sounds ridiculous, but, you know, I'm looking back on all this and I'm like, so what?
We're fortunate where we are.
Yeah.
At the same time.
We have a lot of good things going on for us. We have a lot of good things in our life right now. And that's what I focus on. Everything else is just whatever.
Yeah.
You know? And I really try to focus on the important things. And if I'm in those moments of like something manic, then I try to do something the opposite. Like, you know, that's it. We're all going for a walk. Everybody right now, let's go. Doesn't matter what's going on. We're going for a walk, you know? And just sometimes that for me can kind of break things, you know?
And I feel like it's interesting because even as we're talking, I know in certain situations, there's a lot of times, like just the example of money, when money starts getting tight, that's an anxiety stressor for everybody, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like up until probably about this month, I've always been very good at being like, it's fine. It's fine. We're okay. Where for whatever reason, there's so much in my mind going on that my anxieties, it's just almost like switched roles. And, you know, and that's okay. That happens. That's part of being us.
A balanced couple.
Yeah. When we're so balanced that we often switch roles without intentionally knowing it or without even realizing it sometimes. But one of the other things too that I wanted to bring up that was a big indicator for me that my anxiety was starting to kind of just spiral for me was I'm very open about if I am depressed. I've had it, I've dealt with it, I've struggled with it, and I can definitely say I'm not depressed right now, but I was able to realize that it might head that way. And a lot of times anxiety and depression do go hand in hand. They don't always, but sometimes they do. And one of the indicators that kind of was letting me know, hey, we're heading into that territory, was the amount that I've been crying. I mean, literally yesterday I was heading into work and one of my student workers called out 10 minutes into the shift and I could not shake it. Like normally I'm like, okay, this sucks. Get to work. I'll do it, whatever. But it was like driving in every 5 minutes I was getting so mad and anxious about it that I'd break into tears.
Yeah.
Or like you would call me or text me and the phone would read it to me over the speaker and it would just be like, hey, you're doing fine, don't worry about it. It was just something nice and I would break down.
Yeah.
And so that was when I kind of realized yesterday, like, you know what, this has been happening a lot where you just want to break down. And I do want to say it is okay to break down. If you need to break down and crying is great.
Yeah, you have to have some sort of release. And if it's not a healthy one, then it's just going to end up bad.
Yeah. And so I'm someone, I've said it before, I don't show my emotions very well when it comes to negative emotions. I'll tell you, hey, I feel sad. But actually crying in front of people for whatever reason is very difficult for me. And so I noticed that that's what I was doing. I was really suppressing crying in front of people because I didn't want people to see that I wasn't doing as well as I was trying to portray it. And so, you know, again, that's just one of the things that kind of triggered in my head of like, you know what, this is just going to start spiraling because you're not talking about it.
Yeah. And, you know, it's a crazy emotion that affects it. Well, I don't want to say necessarily just an emotion. It's a sense almost. You know, when everything's going wrong, it's kind of like a radar for when there's something under the hood that's not running right. It's like a check engine light. You might have 35 systems to check, but that one little light sensor is what's setting it off. And sometimes it's a big thing. Sometimes it's a small thing. But, you know, people don't often notice until it's too late. And I think the first step towards like treating somebody with anxiety, or not really treating, I don't want to say that, you know, addressing your anxiety is noticing your triggers. Because, you know, you could all of a sudden be depressed. You could be extra tired all the time, just wiped out. You could be angry all the time. You can be frustrated, short-tempered, you know, anything. You could just be emotional, you know, or you can just be off. Some people don't really know what's going on and they're like, I don't know. It's just how I don't know. And that's often how I experience anxiety these days. You know, it used to be a lot worse. It used to be the moon's going to crash into the earth and the walls are closing in and my whole world is ripping apart. And now, like, it still feels that way, but I'm able to kind of just be like, kind of be more blunted about it. I don't know how else to put it into, you know, and sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's not good. You know, sometimes I break down and sometimes I'm just like, nope. But, you know, like I'll text you and be like, just so you know, I'm having a very off day, you know? And, I think a major part of it is noticing your triggers. Like I said, like 10 minutes ago when I started that, you know, and I know I think I'm becoming pretty good at knowing what my triggers are. And especially with our whole drive to like really change our mindset lately, I think the difference now is that I'm making it a priority to stop and address those triggers when I can, meaning like release whatever I'm feeling about it at the moment or doing something to release that before it can build up. I think that's the most important part.
And I think that's the most important part for a lot of people is if you're able to identify what triggers you or even to just be at some point in the early stages of it, be like, you know what? Like it's been a week where every day I'm having moments or I'm not keeping it together like I was 2 weeks ago. Being able to kind of acknowledge that and recognize it early is always helpful. I mean, if and there are people who can't. I mean, I've been dealing with anxiety for 20 years and it's not until recently that I've really been able, like it's really this time around where I'm like, oh, you know what? It's going to get bad if I don't do something now. And so it's okay if you can't, because not everybody's going to be able to do that. But when you do realize it, speaking to, just saying it to somebody is such a release.
Yeah.
And helps you instantly feel better.
Yeah.
Just being like, you know what? I got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to admit it, it's scary and it brings you anxiety. I know calling to make an appointment today was the most anxious thing I did all day, but then it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's what's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I'll get an appointment. And if I don't, then I just call someone else. Like, it's breaking it down that way.
And none of you can see her right now. We haven't started recording these on video yet, but I'm majorly proud of you because you're talking about it 100%.
Yeah.
And I know that because you have all the anxious notions, you're moving a lot and doing that kind of stuff. But, you know, I'm proud of you because it's not
Thank
easy
you.
to talk about and just go full hearted into, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping that whoever needs to hear this definitely hears it, because the biggest thing you can do for yourself is to get help.
Yeah.
Regardless of what that is. Don't worry about everybody else. Don't worry about, you know, how everybody else is going to feel or think about it. Do what you need to do to get help.
Yeah.
That's the major top biggest thing.
And there's a lot of avenues you can go to get help. And if you're someone who is listening to this and you feel like you don't know where to start, honestly, reach out to us.
Mhm.
Like, both of us, one of us, it doesn't matter. Like, obviously, we're telling you, like, we've been there. Like,
Yep.
we've been in your shoes. And like Josh said, we're hoping that whoever needs to hear this hears this, and that, you know, it is scary for me to talk about it openly to whoever's listening, because it's hard for me to say it to even you sometimes. And that's nothing against you. It's just, it's those anxieties.
Yeah.
And so I don't.
And and to add on to that too, there's also a certain level of uncomfort or discomfort with people that you know.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not being ashamed of how you feel. It's not thinking that they're going to judge you. It could be anything. Courtney knows that I help people as a profession. And if, you know, like if you start talking to me about something, I'm going to answer with my opinion on what can help.
Yeah.
Like I am going to listen, and you know that, and I'm going to dissect it and do what I do. And sometimes that's not what's needed.
Yep.
So I'm not taking offense to her going to find somebody else for help. I'm just happy she's doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
But definitely, like I said, just reach out to us, like, and we'll listen. You know, that's part of why we're doing this.
And I'll offer solutions if that's what you want.
like I said, this is not easy to openly talk about it and not know who's going to hear it. But I'm doing it because I know this is going to help somebody. And so if this is helping you, like, let me know. Like, reach out if you don't know where to get started. Like, I'll help you on the process. You know, that's one of the things I do. I love helping people. Like, no strings attached. Just be like, hey, I don't know where to start, but I feel super anxious and I don't know how to go about it. Like, yeah, I'll help you out. Like, we will figure it out.
Yep. Information's in the show notes.
Yes, information on how to reach out to us.
So on the other side of that, there's a bunch of things that you can also do to help yourself in the meantime. And I'm not saying that these are 100% solutions. Get help. That's the main thing.
Yes.
But there are things you can do to try to kind of lessen the blow. You know, one thing that I've noticed that I tend to go to, a lot of things that people get anxious about is things that are completely out of our control. And so one way that to kind of alleviate that for me is to go to something that I can control, because it's not trying to divert or leave the problem behind or switch to something else or ignore the issue. It's more so trying to give myself something beneficial and positive to work on before that anxiety breaks me down. You know, whether it's working out or whether it's, you know, doing sound projects or doing work or whatever. There's 100 different things that I can think of that I can do that I can control and feel better almost instantaneously.
Control the controllable.
Yeah. And, you know, I've kind of made it my practice to make that sort of my thing overall, where like it's not necessarily even about control anymore. It's just getting to something that's simpler and less complex than the problem that's happening.
Yeah.
And giving myself that little mental break, and then when it's time to go back to address the problem, it's not so heavy, you know.
Well, and that's yesterday. I know for me, I didn't work out. And I think that did play a role in how intense I was feeling my emotions, which helped out because it helped me identify it. But like this morning, I woke up at 5 a.m. At 5:30, I did my workout. And I know that helps set the tone for the rest of the day. And that was a goal I had last night for myself, was exercising makes me feel better. So even if the rest of the day does not go my way, I'm going to do something in the morning to try and kind of nip that anxiety in the bud early.
Yeah.
I'm going to work out.
Yeah.
Because that'll center me for the rest of the day and help me kind of control those emotions as the day goes on.
And, that also works with routines.
Yes.
Not just simple situations, but I notice people that have chronic anxiety often feel like they're living their life on a roller coaster, or on a game of bumper cars, or whatever analogy you want to put to it, where it's basically you keep trying to go and you just you're stopped, and you try to reverse, you try to go in a different direction, and boom, 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 you get knocked off course again. So establishing some good, decent routines for yourself is very, very important in reducing just the outside stress that you don't need. It helps alleviate some of the things that you would have to worry about, but you've now made them sort of routine.
Yeah.
You've made them a certain way, so you know what's going to happen. It's already set up. It's ready to go, and you're good.
Yeah. I mean, and the other side of that is too, I mean, that's good for people who have routines and for people who don't have routines. I know I'm someone who I have routines. In the past couple days, because of how I've been feeling, I've strayed some things from my routine, and that's given me anxiety, is not sticking to them. But the things I haven't done are things that I needed to take a mental break from. So when you're looking at your routine or lack thereof, when you're having a lot of anxiety, is adjust it to what's going to help your anxiety.
Yeah.
If you have, if you decide that every day you're going to wake up and the first thing you're going to do is open up your computer or your phone and look at the news, let's just say. If that's giving you anxiety, take that out.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. That's a horrible
don't do
idea.
That. Don't do that. I know this morning I had to stop myself because I was like, no, that's a terrible way to start your day. Don't look at the news. And that's something that I was waking up at one point every day, and at 5 a.m. I was working out, which was great, but it also was then stressing me out if I didn't feel like waking up or I didn't feel like working out at 5 a.m. I was like, oh my God, I have to do it now because then I'm not going to get time later in the day. And I would get severe anxiety about not following that routine. And I just, talking with my friend Kristen, who's going to be on the show soon, she was like, listen, I'm switching up my routine, because we did it together. We would 5 a.m., we'd wake up, we'd work out, and then we'd log on and do a work session. And she's like, I'm changing. I have to protect my peace. She's like, I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
And I felt like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like, this is what I do every morning. And it ended up being one of the best things for me, because now I have found freedom in when I work out. I still try to stick to a routine with it, but it's not as dire. Like, if you can move something in your day around, move it around if it's going to help you.
Yeah.
Like, really look at your routine and what gives you anxiety, or what can be moved to kind of help you mentally.
And I think the trick to that is, because it can sound kind of crazy when you're looking at it from like my perspective. Well, like now I have to obsess about my schedule during the day. And that's not what we're saying.
No.
What we're saying is, when you're in the moment of something, say you're on your way to work, for just a random example, you're on your way to work, traffic's pissing you off every day, and you just feel stressed when you get into work. All right, is there a time that you can leave a little bit earlier so that maybe there's a coffee shop down the street? You can sit in a coffee shop for 5 minutes, decompress, listen to some music, and then go to work, you know?
Or leave for work, and if there's a coffee shop near work, so once you're done with the traffic.
No, that's what I mean.
Oh.
But, you know, it's sometimes just a simple thing of like being mindful. I think that's a very important part of
Mindfulness,
it.
yeah.
You know, and that goes along with your triggers.
Yeah.
But I recommend this all the time to people that I work with. And it's when you're in a moment and you realize something's wrong or something's not working, you don't have to obsess over it at that moment. But look back on the moment when you get the opportunity and say, you know, what didn't work about that?
Yeah.
Do you think it was the time? Do you think it was how it was done? Whatever, you know? And don't go nuts over it.
Yeah.
Just say, all right, next time I'll try it like this, you know? And my classic example, especially for us being parents, is meal times with kids. You know, at one point, Philip was not eating meals with us.
Nope.
And he still does it once in a while. He's just a super independent kid who it came to the point where it was so stressful that it was like, why are we pushing this kid to eat so hard?
Yeah.
We know he eats. He's not malnourished. He's not going through any issues. Maybe he's just not hungry, you know? And
Sometimes it's control.
it is. Sometimes it's control, but then, you know, like I also tell people that have the same issues, how much energy are you willing to expend over this thing that's, you know, a third of your size and trying to control you, you know?
Yeah.
And it sounds ridiculous, but that's what it is. You have a lot of parents who are like, no, dinner time is dinner time. And if you don't eat now, you're done. That's it.
And we had moments like that with him because it was frustrating.
Yeah. But we simply realized, you know, after not giving into that anger and frustration in the moment, that he came back and he started sitting down and eating 10 minutes after we started, or right before we finished, he'd come by and eat. And that was when he was ready to eat, you know? And it's just, don't give your energy to the negative. Give your energy to, sometimes you just have to give up that control. And in those moments of, you'll gain a sort of clarity where it's like, oh my God, you know, for this situation, this time or this way works better, you know? I know we've touched on it in a couple of the other episodes. A key thing is to be able to exercise your mind to go with the flow. And it sounds ridiculous because the topic is anxiety.
And when you have anxiety, going with the flow can be very hard sometimes.
Yeah, and it's usually a lot about giving up control.
Yes.
And so it's kind of like staring the demon in the face. You know, you have this dark cloud over your head. Why give all the energy into trying to tell the cloud to go away, push it away? You know, you go get a fan and blow it away and put all this energy into trying to get rid of that cloud. Sometimes things are just meant to be experienced at times, and you might not understand why right away. And it sucks in that moment. There's no other way to put it. It absolutely sucks. But I know from the moments, especially this past year, that I've had issues, you know, there was something to be learned from it, or that I took from it in order to not only avoid that situation in the future, but to make it better and fix the problem, you know? And to wrap it around to my original point is that sometimes, like when you're in that manic, anxious mental mode, it's a long process, but there's tools that you can use to kind of stop yourself in the moment and deconstruct what's going on in the moment.
And it could be just simple as focusing on your breathing. Stop and focus on your breathing for half a second. I know that was something that was huge for me. Is when I was younger, I'd start getting panic attacks and my chest would start hurting and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. Oh my God, I'm dying. And I literally had to be taught how to stop for a second and say, okay, your chest hurts. Why does your chest hurt? What's the worst that's going to happen right now? Because a lot of it, for whatever reason, happened when I was on the beach. I was like, what? Why? You're at the beach. You're fine. And it was asking myself a series of questions and then focusing on my breathing. That's something that's so easy to control, is your breathing. And, I think something that I did want to add in is that this is what we talk about right now are our experiences, are our thoughts on things, and they might be completely different from what you think or what and that's fine. But this is our take on it. Mm-hmm. And we would love to hear your perspective on it,
Yeah, definitely.
Because we're open to that. We want to hear other people's experiences or their thoughts or their opinions on things.
Mm-hmm. The purpose of this whole show is to help.
Yeah.
So there might be somebody out there listening to this who has a thought of, this is the way I experience it and this is the way I do it. So let us know. Bring that to us. And, it's important for everybody to hear it because somebody else is feeling the same thing, and the same thing will work for you.
Yeah.
So we kind of touched on some of the things that we do a little bit to alleviate the anxious moments and, when we notice our triggers. Some other things that I had thought of was, more on the short term end of things. Like while you're in the moment, what can you do to reduce your anxieties or to reduce your manic mode or calm yourself down a little bit? And I don't know about you, but the two headliners for me are music and exercise. Those are always things where, like, if I drop everything and go to do those, I'm usually good by the time I'm usually good after utilizing those.
And those are different for me. I know if I'm in the moment where I feel like I'm starting to get anxiety, I do need to move my body a lot, but like if I'm at work, I can't just necessarily drop it and go exercise.
Yeah.
And one of the things I do at work is I always have my headphones in. I always have one earbud in so I can hear whatever. Well, it's honestly Netflix on my computer that's just being background noise, or it's music or Audible or whatever. I have something always playing so that it kind of stops me from getting into that anxious mode because it's always there. But I do, when I start feeling super anxious, if I don't have music on or a show on, I pop an earbud in. And like I said before, I focus on my breathing. I will push back from my desk for 5 minutes and I will just kind of lean back in my chair and close my eyes and, okay, deep breath, and just one by one focus on my breathing. Because those are things that in that moment while I'm at work, if I'm at work when I'm experiencing it, I can control. I'm definitely someone who the things I do to kind of bring myself out of a panic attack or anxiety moment is based a lot on where I am. If I'm at home and there's someone home who, if Josh is home or my mom's home or my dad's home, I'll be, hey, can you take the kids for 5 minutes? And I'll just go to a different room. Yeah. I'll do the same type of techniques where I'll, to focus on my breathing or put something on, but I can remove myself from the situation that's giving me that anxiety. I can bring myself downstairs. If I'm at home and the kids are doing whatever and it's a tough day and I'm feeling super anxious and stressed and it's just me, that's when I just try to focus on my breathing and take a step back and be like, is this worth the energy? So those are just some of the things that in the moment work for me. Yeah.
And I have those in my head as more long-term solutions for people experiencing anxiety episodes and things like that, only because at first practice it's not always easy to take the time out and be like, I need to go meditate, or whatever, so in a more long-term scheme, one choice that you have is to be able to develop sort of like mantras for yourself, or
like I have a series of questions that I can ask myself.
Yeah.
If I start feeling anxious, I have a series of questions from 2003 that I ask myself.
Yeah. And like I'll use stuff like mantras or affirmations.
Yes.
Where instead of asking myself questions, I'll literally be like, you're fine. everything is fine. Things will work out, and it's just a script that I have to run over in my head to remind myself that you're alive, you're breathing, everything's fine,
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a long time to be able to develop that for some people, into a common practice every time. But it's definitely something that, you should work on to be able to build that into your head to respond to your triggers.
And again, what these long-term, short-term things work for us are going to be different for everyone.
Yeah.
These are just something that maybe you haven't tried and maybe will help you out.
Mm-hmm. I was doing some studies today while I was exercising, and I heard it's a book on Audible called the CPT Exam Prep, or the NASM CPT Exam Prep. And there was one part of it about stress on the body. And I just thought, like, wow, after, I thought about what the show was going to be today, and I thought we should do it on anxiety. The guy in the middle of one of the chapters starts talking about the stress on the body. And he said, stress is just the body's reaction to outside stimulus.
Mm-hmm.
And it had to do, in that case, with, how your muscles feel stressed or how your body feels stressed. And he went on to explain that in the end, it's your body getting stronger in response. And I think that's a really important thing to remember as well with anxiety in general, is that you're not weak for experiencing these things. You're not, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing, everybody goes through it, and it's a strengthening thing because you live through it. You learn how strong you are. You literally dealt with the weight of the world crushing on you. And, when you take that into your mind and really appreciate and understand what's going on with it, I think it does make you stronger, and it does make you realize that you can handle a lot more than you think you can, even if it's not like an upfront thought, And I just thought that was an interesting thing to point out.
I honestly think it's a great way to look at it. I mean, I know I deal with a lot of student athletes, who they have their own set of anxieties. Like, college is hard. Being a student athlete is hard. Especially
if you have remote and not remote.
Yeah, right now, I mean, times are so crazy. Being a student is just in general really hard right now. And I say to my players, your mental health is the number one thing.
Yeah.
That takes priority over, literally, in my mind, everything. Because if you don't take care of yourself mentally, you're not going to be able to do anything else. Everything else is going to be such a struggle. And there's such this stigma around needing help and talking about mental health issues. And it's okay to have them. Every single person on this planet has anxieties over something. Yeah. Everyone, except maybe babies. And even they get anxious. Yeah. And so, that's another reason why I'm really happy that we're talking about this, is because I know I want to take that stigma away. I encourage my players, like, you're feeling stressed, go talk to someone in the counseling center. Even if you do it only once, that's going to just make you feel better, because
it's better than not doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I wish when I was in college, I wish I had utilized that more. I think being a student athlete would have been a lot easier mentally on me. And I think, there needs to be conversations like this that happen, that you talk about it and you make it okay. Because like I said, everybody in this world has some sort of anxiety, and we need to just stop having it be such a stigma.
Yeah. Yeah. Time to address and talk about it.
It's okay to have anxieties. We all do.
Yep.
It doesn't make you weak.
Not at all. Like I said in the quote, it makes you stronger. So I think it's about time to get to the lightning rounds.
That was me that time, guys. I think you know when it's me and when it's Josh.
Let's see who's more bassy. I can't even do it.
I'm not even going to try.
So, What is your favorite method to alleviate anxiety?
My favorite method to alleviate anxiety. That's tough because I like have methods that are temporary, and then I have methods that are long term. My long term, I like asking myself the series of questions that I ask when I get anxious. Short term, I love going and getting a manicure and pedicure.
So what would you say between all of them is just your most favorite, even if it's only been one time?
I mean, honestly, I love getting a manicure pedicure. I mean, who doesn't? It's so relaxing, and then your nails look all like nice and fresh.
I want to tell you guys a secret. I already knew that.
It's an hour to an hour and a half of my day that I can once every couple of weeks, just literally it's about me. It's a little pampering for me.
Now, do you like that more than getting your hair done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I do. The hair salon I go to, they do a mean scalp massage when they wash your hair. It takes like a half hour for them to wash your hair. It is great. But I do like getting my nails done more. I like the massaging your leg and your feet. Oh, it's just great all around.
Cool.
All right. What is something that makes you very anxious?
The safety of my kids. Overall, with everything, I'm kind of on the same level now. But, like, do you remember almost a year ago? Again, here comes Philip.
Oh, Philly.
He's a very rambunctious child, and he has a lot of accidents. Like, there's literally, you can put him in a bubble, and he'll find a way to get hurt. But do you remember the time where I had to drop Michael off at school, and I had to call up a friend of ours to bring Michael to school because Philip like cracked his head on the corner of his changing table while he was running.
Yep.
That kind of stuff makes me super anxious, where like usually I'm a pretty calm guy. Like I can slice my arm open and be like, no, it's fine, you know. But with stuff like that, I'm like,
yeah.
You know, or like, you know, in public settings, like stranger danger and stuff like that. I get really eerie about that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's like I said. I feel like this downward spiral all started when Philip fell down the stairs.
Yeah.
It's that anxiety. It's with your kids, it's just a different level of anxiety.
Yeah. And it's like a psychology to it. Like you see, like when you physically see your son dropping what you think is breaking his head on the corner of a table, or falling face flat and flipping over his head coming off the stairs or whatever. Like there's
the
no
tightness in my chest right now.
There's no way to shake imagery like that. You know, like
that sticks with you.
Yeah, it's like a psychological thing. So yeah, that would definitely be mine.
All right.
Question 2 for you.
Uh-oh.
What is your one never fail anxious trigger?
Never fail anxious trigger. When it's more of a scenario, it's if someone brings up something I've been trying to avoid talking about, or asks me about something
that's me.
Yeah. No, but it's anybody. That's something that if someone's asked me like, oh, hey, how's this going? And I forgot to do it, that's giving me anxiety without fail. If someone's like, hey, we need to sit down and talk about XYZ, and I've been avoiding this person so that we don't have to talk about XYZ, I'm anxious the entire, like, it's just when people bring up topics I'm trying to avoid for whatever reason, it just gives me the most anxiety.
Which is interesting because, like, we talked about us being perfect balance and switching roles, and I'm the opposite of that. Like, I am the one to want to get things out in the open and, you know, What's the term? Drying your laundry or something like that.
I have no idea.
Something
Airing
about
your dirty laundry.
Yeah. And it's not even like I want to make anything public, but I'm the type who firmly believes that if you're going to fix something, you address it. And that's not always the way to address it, but, that's just my personality.
Yeah. Again, it's that balance.
Yeah. So, sorry, babe.
It's all right. Still love you.
Was that you or me?
You asked me that, so now I'm asking you. Question 2. I'm trying to remember the way I wanted to phrase this. What is your go-to in the moment anxiety reducer when you can't step away?
When I can't step away.
Yep. Like if you're with the kids and you can't step away to go work out. What is your in the moment anxiety reducer?
I'd have to say music, honestly.
Okay.
If it's not exercise, like if I broke my legs and I'm in a wheelchair and can't get away from everybody or whatever, like that would be it, because in the most stressful moments that I can remember, being in the house and surrounded by everybody and, everybody was going crazy and nuts. Like, I've mentioned it before. We have a ton of speakers and headphones and all that stuff all over the house. So I turn one of the speakers on and just throw back to the 90s. Like that always gets me right back.
I guess so. Here's a follow-up, a part 2 to that. What if you can't put music on for whatever reason? Like if Michael's remote learning or something.
I could still put music on. That's what they have headphones for.
All right.
They even have special headphones. I forgot I think they're called bone induction headphones. You can clip them onto your earlobe, and it's something about the vibrations go directly to your eardrum, and you can hear it, but you can also hear everything else outside.
Technology, people.
Yeah, when they first came out, I think they were Skull Candy, and when they first came out, they were like $200 some odd for a set. I don't know how much they are now, but they're probably way better.
Oh, man.
Anybody want to buy it for me, I can give you our address. I'll P.O. box it.
Not in the show notes.
Yeah. And I'm coming up with this one on the fly because I didn't have any other questions regarding whatever that I wanted to ask. What's been the best thing to happen to you this year?
Ooh, that's a tough one. The best thing to happen to me this year.
I'll make it easier. Not including the birth of our child.
I feel like
that was easy default.
I feel like that was so long ago. That doesn't even feel like that was part of this year.
It still feels like it's.
I mean, that was like January, so it is almost a year ago.
Yep.
The best thing, honestly, was being able to be home with my family. Mm-hmm. I was home basically since December last year, but being able to go back to work for literally like 3 days and then being able to work from home was such a blessing.
Oh yeah, that's right. You weren't even there for like a full week after.
My first day back, we shut down, and then I went in one more day that week and one day the following week before they said we could work from home. But that was honestly, I think if I had never been given that time to work from home, I would never have committed to the things I committed to this year, to starting my own business, to studying for CPT and soon nutritionist. I would never have committed to that stuff. Mm-hmm. So that was really COVID forcing us to be home was really the biggest blanket best thing to happen this year, besides Mila, of course.
And I tried to push her into those studies too. I tried to get her into the nutrition studies. Yep. I always said she's an awesome coach. She'd be a great personal trainer, but she's stubborn. She don't listen.
Like, you're not.
I listen sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Oh, God. Ugh. All right. Are you ready for question 3? What is the best advice you've ever gotten from someone? Bam.
The best advice I ever because it was right on the tip of my tongue. I just trying to figure out what I wanted to say. Maston Kip. I've referenced it in the show before, and it is one of my absolute favorite quotes that I've ever heard from anybody. Was, basically your fear guides you.
Yeah.
If you're afraid of something, it's probably where you're supposed to go.
We both have said that many times.
Yeah. And, it's as true for business ventures as it is for, because everybody gets so stuck in comfort all the time. And it's an easy trap to fall into, but comfort does not mean progress.
Nope.
People can find comfort in progress, but if you're in a comfortable area, usually you're not advancing to your full potential in some way. And so basically it was just, if you're afraid of recording yourself and putting yourself online to express who you are, that's what you should do.
Yeah.
You have something to offer the world, that you're not doing right now. You're afraid of it because it's outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot over the past year from doing that in different ways, and now look, we're doing podcasts and, we have multiple video, YouTube channels, and we're going to be recording the podcast and doing stuff like that, so, I mean, multiple YouTubes between my business and, and, it's just, I'd never even thought about putting a selfie on Instagram and that's just been squashed, you know? So it's been fun.
That's good advice.
So I know this episode has run way over our usual time. But we thought it was especially important now in this situation where you can't even log on Facebook without 300 of your friends talking about the election and this and that. It's, we thought it was an important topic to cover right now.
I'm throwing just into that. Don't be afraid to mute people. It's okay to mute people. I've muted a lot of people this week.
Unfollow, mute, or snooze for 30 days.
Yeah. I mean, because if it's giving you anxiety,
protect your peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've muted a lot of people this week, guys. Yeah. And it's nothing personal, but it gives me anxiety. My anxiety's at a high right now, and I need to do what I can to protect that. So don't be afraid to mute people.
Yep.
If you guys have any questions, if you guys have any comments, if you guys need help, whatever, even if it's just to be like, hey, sup?
Feel free to hit us up.
Check the show notes, guys. We're there. We're here. We want to hang out with you guys.
So she's a official Beachbody coach that works for and with them, but she also does a lot of her own stuff too.
And you don't have to sign up with Beachbody for me to help you.
Yeah. And I am an integrative nutrition health coach, and we're both soon to be certified personal trainers.
Next step, nutritionist.
Yep. And all my title means is that I look at you mind, body, and spirit. If you feel like something's out of whack, out of balance, I can help you address it. So yeah, check the show notes for all that stuff. Let us know what you think of the show. It's probably real amateur audio hour. We probably hit the microphone 500 times by now.
Sorry.
Yeah, our bad. We're getting used to it. But yeah, that's about it. Check us out.